Hey guys, Kurt from Time Machine Transport. So I'm over here in Hagen, Montana, right near the Idaho border, and up in that pass up there. Well, I got here last night, and I'm sure you guys saw the videos. And I'd like to talk about driving in the wintertime in a semi. So when I was on I-90 and heading westbound, I got a delivery in Sumner, Washington. Pays okay, no tarp scaffolding, heavy. That's why I was able to roll last night, because I was heavy. And if I were light, there's no way I would have just been like, nah, I'm not going to chance it. So I noticed this guy over here is, you see he's got his rear one tire done on his chains. They're calling for full chain, which means your tractor and your trailer. So I look at it like this. It's risk versus reward. And the reason, it speaks for itself, right? So last night I was really hoping, I was like, all right, well, I'll be able to get over here, shut down, do my 10 in the sleeper, get up early, and I'm only like 394 away or something like that. I didn't check my GPS, but I'm like under 400 miles from the delivery, and I had another load booked, so I had a deadhead from Sumner, Washington to Portland to pick up these shingles going to Longmont, Colorado. Pays well. When I'm out here, I contact the broker. They got loads going out there all the time. It's cold out here. So that I was going to have to drop, because there was like a 3-hour ride from Sumner to Portland. So I was kind of stressing it, because I hit bad weather in Iowa, then bad weather in South Dakota, through like, not all of South Dakota, but icy roads. And and then Montana. It wasn't, or I'm sorry, Wyoming, which I shut down at Sundance at night. Roads were getting kind of slick. Again, I'm heavy, tires are good, blah, blah, blah. So I really, my goal was, well, it's risk and reward, because this load paid well, decent. And then the shingles going out of Portland. So, I won't tell you what they paid or whatever, but they were paying decent. And so the risk and reward is there. However, on the flip side of that, or on the other side of the fence, you could literally ruin everything for traveling in the conditions that I was traveling in. As you can see in the videos, there's not many vehicles on the road. At that point, however, I did the risk versus reward, and it was worth it. So getting here last night, I was going to be able to, I got up at 5, a little after 5, checked Idaho 511 is their site to check the weather and road conditions, and it still called for chain up. So it is mandatory to carry chains out here, if you guys don't know that, from like September, late September to, or like, we'll just say October 1st to May, because the weather gets so unpredictable up here, and it gets very cold. It was negative 24 with the wind chill this morning, and last night. So when you I saw one of these skinnies on the side of the road. I'm heading west. They were on the eastbound side, and the dude was out there. He had a car hauler in his little Puma jacket, and out there freezing his ass off. No gloves, no boots, he had his hood up, so I don't know if he was wearing a skull cap or not. And he had some sort of problem. So when you're in these trucks, man, I mean, I see a lot more than I should with drivers not being prepared for the winter. Some people don't even run in the winter. They're like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Like my brother AB from AB Fast Rabbit, he's the owner of. He says, dude, you got big balls. It's not that I have big balls. I mean, when I was down in Iowa, they had guys. I mean, Iowa I-80 truck stop on I-80 in Walcott. There were so many trucks there, man, on Tuesday night. They're all on CB. Man, why are you guys out in this shit, man? That's crazy. And, you need to be looking for different freight if you got to run in the winter time, or you got to run in this horrible storm. And they're right. I mean, I did a video on chaining up years ago. I got criticized for it from a couple guys or actually one guy who chains up like that's his job. Like everywhere he goes, like up in Canada or something, in the wintertime calls for chains. So he's like a pro chain installer, mounter, whatever. And he said, I told him, I said, hey man, I'm not trying to sit on the side of the road, trying to perfect chaining. I said, it was able to get me from point A to point B. And the only reason why I chained up was because I had a new driver with me, Bill Damakasi, big turd, another big turd in the toilet. Now see, this guy's smart. See how he's going down the truck and trailer. He just wiped off his mud flaps on his tractor. Now he's going down by his trailer. I do the exact same thing. So many trucks out here that their running lights, their tail lights are just completely caked. I mean, yeah, people. Oh well, they were cleared when I did my pre-trip, and then as you're traveling, and that's true. However, it's still up to you to stop every once in a while at a rest area, off ramp. That's another thing. If you're driving out here, and it's literally it's a lot of snow. If don't try not to pull off on an off ramp if you can help it. I'll have to post a video. When my windshield was icing up, I was taking my arm, and I was going out the driver's side window, and I was popping the windshield wiper to get the ice off because it was just I couldn't even see, and fucking ripped the damn wiper right off the arm. So now I got no wiper blade on the driver's side, so I had to stop and get another one. Then last night I did the exact same fucking thing in Montana, trying to pop it and rip the damn blade right off of the arm. Another brand new windshield wiper lost. But if you're in that situation, try not to pull off on an off ramp, because if you get over to the side or you go over the, you get off and then you get back on and you stop. Either way, if you're in the E lane, man, you could get stuck, and then you're in a lot of trouble because now you're going to have to pay for a wrecker to come and pull you out. So, and I'm only telling you, I mean, people, oh, that's obvious. It's not obvious. I mean, people don't, I see a lot of trucks, even at rest areas, that literally are waiting for a wrecker to be pulled out. I've tried to pull out a guy over in Montana. I did a video where the fucking guy had his foot on the brake and ripped my whole damn bumper off my trailer. Granted, it was my fault. I shouldn't have hooked up to the bumper of my trailer. However, the guy was empty. It was a tanker, so he's empty. Not that heavy, but he was stuck in like a rut. He had made a rut on the at the fuel island, and he just wasn't very smart. Anyways, had he had his foot off the brake, I wouldn't have ripped my shit off the trailer, so which cost me like $700 and some to have it welded back on. Act of kindness, right? I'm not saying like, oh, good job, Kurt, you're so kind. I'm not. I mean, it's just something that happened, and that's why I have this YouTube channel, so I can inform other people. So where was it? Oh yeah, so I had to literally get off on an off ramp because I couldn't see. I mean, I'm swerving all over the road, and I literally can't see, man. That was last night, the one in South Dakota, the first screw up, that I was able to get over to a truck stop and get a new wiper blade. But that wiper blade was one I actually ripped off in Montana. So try to get off at a rest area. So I see this skinny on the side of the road, just unprepared, like literally unprepared. And I see a lot of guys, not too. The women seem like they have big jackets, boots, stuff like that. But a lot of guys, man, they just, I don't know if it's just like the tough guy syndrome where you see them get out of their truck and they go walking over to the truck stop and they're just in their shorts or pants and just a t-shirt. Like, dude, I mean, why suffer through it if you don't have to? I mean, it kind of goes for that in general in life, doesn't it? Like, I mean, for instance, if like, I don't need glasses to drive, however, I do need them to read, small print readers, but I don't wear them all the time. I mean, I don't need it to read everything, but when I get, so I don't leave my readers on all the time, right? Because I only go to them when I need them. You know, I don't eat unless I'm hungry because it's needed, so on and so on. So if you don't have to travel out here I mean, that's how my windshield got cracked, was from a gravel truck. So I've seen guys rip off nice mud flaps with lights, and that's what I have. I got mud flap brackets with lights. Now, if you have chains on, and I see some of these guys and gals, I mean, I'm not too many gals, because they're smart, right? Just, you know, on the side of the road, mud flap is hanging, wires are hanging off of it because the chain broke. The tire chain broke and ripped the damn mud flap and the bracket off. And now you got to get another one, rewire it, so on and so on. I've seen guys pop airbags from a broken tire chain. I mean, just a lot of damage. A lot of damage. So when I was on I-90 last night coming west, I was planning on shutting down here in Hogan anyways. I don't know if it's Hagen or Hogan. It's Haugan, Montana. And I saw on the digital traffic sign that it was chains required, like 13 miles ahead. I'm like, man, fuck that. I'm just not doing it, man. I mean, I've chained up enough in my time. But chains they're literally for an emergency. That's why it's required by law to carry chains out here in the West, because if you're in a mountain pass, like for instance, one year I was up in the Rockies. I was by Eagle Pass, I think it is. And beautiful day. I checked the radar. Everything was cool. Didn't call for any weather at all. Well, I get down into this pass, hence Eagle Pass. And the sun has not hit that area during the whole winter, I guess, because of the elevation of the sun and the elevation of the mountains. The sun couldn't hit the roads, so the roads were just like glass. They were icy as shit. So they had on the sign, must chain up to continue through pass. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, it's a beautiful day. Well, I went ahead and chained up. And you could see why there was chain up law, because at that area, you'd have to wait till summer for that shit to melt. So I remember there was a guy from California. He was a dry box. He was pulling a dry box, and I'm all done chaining. I'm just cold, miserable. Now I'm wet, and I've had frostbite on my fingers so many times when I was a contractor that, you get that, like, when you're out in this shit for so long, your fingers feel like somebody hit them with a hammer. I mean, it's so painful. Anyways, I'm about to leave, man. I'm like, oh, thank God that's over. I had been there for like maybe an hour, a little over, chaining up. And I look in my mirror, I'm about to pull off, and I check my mirrors. I see this guy literally sprinting up to my truck. I'm like, don't. So I'm like, I should pull away. But then I didn't. And he's like, hey, man, he said, I've never chained up before. And we ended up going through his box, and he had like two chains that were actually fit. Everything else he had was way too big or too small. And he's like, you think I'll get in trouble for that? I'm like, well, what are you going to do? I don't have any extra chains. I'm not going to give them away, not for the price of chains. So we went ahead and chained him up, and then I followed him in case he got stuck or whatever. And that's how it went. And I remember one time I was in Wyoming on I-80, and it was bad conditions. I was taking a load from Salt Lake City to Denver, and I was snapping on the guy I drove for, this Russian. I told him, I said, man, dude, they're calling for a huge blizzard up there. And he's like, well, I said, if I have to put chains on, man, I'm going to fucking quit. And I ended up not quitting, but I was livid, man. So we're on I-80 eastbound in Wyoming, and I believe we're like west of Laramie. And we're in this valley or whatever, and it's just backed up traffic. It's a parking lot. So nobody's talking on the CB. We're sitting there for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, dead standstill parking lot. And then all of a sudden I see this guy next to me. Now I'm a rookie at this point. I see this guy next to me. People made fun of foreigners and this and that, but they help each other out. I think this guy was Polish. And I see him chaining up next to me, and I see another guy come out with chains. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to chain up. I never chained up before, never. So I'm like, oh shit. So I go up to the guy next to me. I had chains, and I told him, I said, hey, excuse me, man. I said, I have never chained up before. He was like, oh, my friend. So he goes ahead, and I told him, I said, I'll help you chain up so I can learn. He's like, yes, my friend, yes. I don't think that's Polish. I think that's more like Indian or something. Pakistani, Pintosh. So I helped him chain up, and then he helped me chain up to teach me. That was so kind. So I told him, I said, where are you shutting down at? He goes, Laramie. I said, that's where I'm shutting down at. So I bought him dinner, and we talked, and he had his own rig, and he'd been trucking for a while, and it was just an act of kindness that you don't really see out here that often. I love to help people. It makes me feel great. So you don't, if you don't have to chain up, man, don't chain up. I mean, again, risk and reward, right? Risk and freaking reward. And, it's on the time crunch that I had I had another day to spare, I kind of contradict myself, because I probably would have put the chains on just to guarantee that, one, I dropped this load, and two, I got the other load. So if I had one more there, but I didn't. I mean, I woke up this morning, and today was the day I had to deliver. Well, going up through that mountain pass would have taken me 2 hours probably. I don't know, once you chain up, get through it, then you got to unchain, and then who knows what's going to happen on the road. Could be an accident, could be backed up. So you got to put so many different variables in there, right? You got to kind of think about everything. So I lost the other load. I told the I had been keeping in constant communication. That's another thing. When you guys are in these trucks, and I know brokers can be a real pain in the ass. calling you all the time, this, that, where you at, so on and so on. I tell the broker immediately when we get a load, we will email you, not call you, we will email you when we arrive at the shipper. We will email you once we are loaded and rolling. I mean, I do it so often that it prompts the text, or when I'm texting or emailing, it just autofills because I do it so much. And I tell myself, once we get loaded, and I'll email you that we're loaded and rolling. Then when I get to the receiver, I will also email you when I arrive at the receiver, and then also I'll send you the POD, which is proof of delivery, if you're new to trucking, or if you don't do it. I email the broker a POD and for the BOL, and they love it. They absolutely love it. I mean, my wife, hi baby girl, I love you. She could put a comment on. I mean, I'm constantly sending. I don't know about constantly, but I've sent enough screenshots to her saying, "Up, another satisfied broker," and I'm not patting I guess I am kind of patting myself on the back. I've had brokers literally say, "Man, I would love 100 more of you, man." Drivers just don't communicate, man. They just don't communicate. I mean, and that's a huge compliment. Like, to say they had 100 more like me, I mean, I feel good about that. And everybody, I mean, and I'm literally saying, I mean, brokers, they love us. They love Time Machine Transport. They love us. So just so I stayed with constant communication. I stayed in constant communication with this broker from Able, and then another one from Tradewinds. And we only deal with good brokers. We don't deal with shitbag brokers. If you don't pass the OTR credit criteria, we're not doing business with you. And I'm not saying like I'm some kind of stellar dude, like my freaking credit's #1, blah, blah, blah. But my trucking reputation speaks for itself. And I am wearing that like a badge of honor. Because it's a very hard job. My wife says I'm very brave and this and that. And, she didn't know how she could do it. My wife's a nurse. Everybody knows that. Well, not everybody knows that. You shouldn't say everybody, right? A lot of people know that, and I think she's very brave. I mean, she's actually literally saved people's lives, literally. So, when I saw the kid, I say kid because I'm 54. And I don't know if it was a man or a woman. Kind of looked like a man, but really skinny. Hence the nickname Skinny. Maybe not a nickname, maybe it's a label. Anyways. So, and I just say to myself, I'm like, dude, man. And I know, I mean, flatbedders, we typically carry winter stuff or whatever. But, I mean, the more you travel, and as long as I've traveled around this country, you see so many trucks sitting on the side of the road in the wintertime. I ran out of fuel when I drove for this freaking Russian when I was a rookie. My brother Mikey was with me, and we ran out of fuel in just east of Rawlins. And so the Russian I drove for, he wanted us to fuel primarily at TAs and Petros because he got such a huge fuel discount, which I get a huge fuel discount. We get a huge fuel discount from OTR at the TAs and Petros. So I understand now what he talked about. I mean, you're saving 40, 50 cents a gallon. You're putting in 100 gallons every other day or every day. Shit, that's hundreds of dollars a week, right? That adds up in a year per how many trucks, right? So I would, when I went through Wyoming, I would stop on I-80. There's a Petro in Laramie, Wyoming at the mile marker 310, and that's where I was planning to catch fuel. So when I go to get off, they won't let us over the overpass, because when you're going westbound on I-80, when you get off at the 310, you got to go over the overpass to get to the Petro. It's the only way you can get there. So they got it all blocked off. There's state troopers there, and on the east side, the eastbound lanes, they had that all blocked off. They had the the overpass blocked off, and they wouldn't let us go to the petrol because there was a traffic death, and they were investigating the scene. Look at this guy. That's impressive. However, he's going to need to do properly. He's going to need to do his 4 rims on his tractor and the 4 rims on his trailer for full chain up lock. Good luck. You're a better man than I am, Elder Logistics. So anyway, so they wouldn't let us go to the petrol because they had a traffic fatality. And so then there's a pilot right there. So we go to the pilot instead. Well, because drivers couldn't go to the petrol, they were catching fuel at the flying, or the pilot or Flying J at the same exit. And the Loves wasn't there. There's a Loves there now. And nobody had fuel because all the drivers were going over to these other truck stops because they couldn't go to the petrol in Laramie there. So I'm like, shit. Like, well, we should make it to Rawlins, but long story short, we didn't. And it's like below 30 with the wind chill. Nasty. Worse than this. So my brother, we die, and we can literally see the TA at mile marker 214 on I-80. We can literally see the lights at the TA. And I'm like, it's a few miles. And we're out in the middle, out in the open. So the wind is just cutting right through this old truck and fucking thing. I mean, it's drafty in that bitch. And I remember we had like 2 or 3 pieces of pizza left. And so I go ahead and call the Russian, tell him, hey, dude, I've ran out of fuel, blah, blah, tell him the situation, why it happened. He's like, all right. So he starts calling around to roadside service. First place we call is the TA. Well, they had so many people running out of fuel that day where they couldn't get us road service. The lady said, all right, I'll put you on the list for the TA. I'll put you on the list. They could probably get you tomorrow. I'm like, tomorrow? Tomorrow will be fucking dead. I mean, it was cold, man. It was freezing. I remember we were eating ice cold pizza, and I didn't have a fridge and a microwave in his truck. The Russian was very cheap, but he took a bet on me and got me into a truck, which I'm very appreciative for. So my brother's like, dude, I don't know, man. This is getting pretty bad. We're cold. I mean, we're bundled up, and I didn't have the proper winter wear. I didn't have proper boots. I didn't have snow pants. I didn't have a big snow jacket. I mean, I looked like that skinny. Well, not physically, because I'm a big guy, but I looked like that skinny sitting on the side of the road, just totally unprepared and desperate and a little scared, actually. So I told my brother, I said, we might have to walk over to the TA, man. I mean, to get out of this cold. It's, we're going to have to do that, man, because I don't think we can stay here, many hours more. Well, then the Russian calls me, says, I got a roadside coming up to you. Somebody canceled, so they were able to squeeze us in. And I was very, very, very grateful. So, it's kind of one of those things. I have this saying that if you come to a point in your life, your life's the analogy is you're on a road, right? You're driving up and there's a barricade there, and on the other side of that barricade, it looks like shit, man. Damn, dude, you're gonna have to chain up, man. It looks like it's a complete non-passable road on the other side of that barricade, right? It's non-passable. There's no way you're getting through it. And you don't even attempt to go past that barricade because somebody told you it was too difficult to pass that. you're going to do that for the rest of your life. You will, at anything that's difficult in your life, you will turn around and go the other way, because going past that is going to be too difficult for you to do. And that's how I like to tell people. So it's not that I'm not able to chain up. And maybe I'm doing this video for myself because I feel bad. I feel a little guilty, like, damn, man, I really let a broker down. Not one broker, but two brokers. And I really kind of let myself down. You know, I'm letting the chains, I really don't know the word I'm looking for. I'm letting the chains control what I do. I'm letting the chain up law control what I do. But again, it's risk and reward. I mean, last night I was there, blah, blah, blah. And then this morning, you know, still having 394 miles. And then the chain up. And then I'm like, man, I'm going to be easily there. Even if I delivered that load today, there's no way I was picking up Portland. And so I would be stuck over there regardless, I'm assuming. But I probably would not have gotten a load on a Friday late afternoon. I mean, or even a Saturday morning. But, I mean, I have gotten them before. So more than likely, it was just like, man, you know, when you're going, and I battled, you know, 3 days of weather already. So maybe I was just tired. Maybe the logic kicked in where it's like, man, it was really asinine. If there would have been a truck or a car that would have, you know, been in my path, say would have slid out of control or something, it wouldn't have been good. That load's not going to get there anyways, and now my truck and trailer is screwed, my CDL's screwed. Like, I mean, you shouldn't be out riding in this shit anyways, right? And so I just wanted to do a video on winter driving. As you can see, when the truck passed me in the video, and I'm doing like 55. I mean, I think that's fast enough on ice and snow and everything else, and being heavy. You get some of these people out here, man, they just are super truckers in that freaking hammer lane. And then, you know, you see somebody in the ditch and these guys talk shit on the radio. Oh, there goes another dumbass in the ditch. Well, how do you know that that person is the one that caused themselves to go into there? I mean, it could have been somebody in the hammer lane just flying by, got squirrely, and took you out, and they were able to keep going. And then now you're in the ditch, right? You're in the ditch, and it's not even your fault. I mean, essentially, they say any accident you're involved in, you are partially to blame, a small percentage or even a large percentage, because you shouldn't have been on the road. Or had you not been on the road, the accident wouldn't have happened. I disagree with that. But in a situation like I was in last night, if a truck, and there were very few trucks that passed me because there weren't really a lot of trucks out, but the ones that did, I mean, they were getting pretty squirrely, man. And then as you can see, that cloud of snow just blocks your view. You know, it's if I would have gotten into a wreck yesterday or slid off the road, that would have been my own fault, because I chose to go and drive in those conditions, which makes sense to me now, but at the time I'm like, hey, I got to get there, you know. But then this morning when I woke up at 5-ish, I realized, you know, I mean, I checked the road cameras, and that's what's nice about technology. You know, the old truck drivers, they didn't have that technology, you know, so we're very blessed, very fortunate to have, you know, technology that we have today. Although technology is a blessing and a curse, right? And a curse. Because when we don't have it, we're lost. GPS, whatever, music, YouTube. I don't do the Twitter thing or the X thing now. I don't do TikTok. I don't do any of that shit. So it's, I'm very blessed that nothing happened last night. I see, I'm still watching trucks go westbound, and they have chains on, and Some of them are driving super, super fast, and others are being more sensible and driving slow. And they had these digital signs up in here in Montana, actually, the digital signs, the roadsides, and it said, it's not a race, watch your speed. And that's so true. That's so true. It's not a race. And, just be sensible, man. Be sensible. There's probably a couple dozen trucks at this truck stop. The 50,000 Silver Dollars and the Silver Motel, Silver Inn. Nice place. Got good coffee. And I have enough food, water, microwave, refrigerator in my truck where I'm not. I've been already stranded in Rawlins, Wyoming for 2.5 days. I've been stranded in Cheyenne for a day and a half. Been stranded in Portland, Oregon at a rest area by La Grande, the big mountain there. I think it's La Grande. I was stuck there at a rest area for like 2 days, and me and a bunch of other drivers, and guys were talking, man, I don't chain up anymore, man. I just don't. If it calls for chains, and if you look at, I was telling my wife this morning, if you look at it, chains have such a negative connotation. Chains, if you think, unless it's like a gold chain or a diamond chain, but if it's a fake gold chain or a fake diamond chain, that's just a negative way to wear or front or pose, right? But if you think about chains, chains typically really don't have a positive connotation. It just seems negative. Slavery, that's all that stuff. They chained her to a bed, or chained, you know what I'm saying? Like, everything is, it just doesn't, I don't feel there's anything positive about it. So if you have to chain up, you really should only be doing it in an emergency. It just, I don't know. I see a lot of people out here. I have snow pants. I got big boots, big balls, according to a buddy of mine, gorilla balls. So, but there's a point in time in this truck that you really have to pull back on yourself and pull back on the leash and say, you know what? And that's like these guys. I see a lot of reefers and a lot of dry box. Don't really see a lot of flatbed drivers with chains on their tires. And I'm wondering if they, because they have standing appointments for reefers, right? You can't stay in a certain area. That's why I would never, yeah, I know, right, Jason? Go and never say never. I would never pull a reefer, man. Never. Not with the shit that those people go through. I would definitely rather flatbed and deal with the elements and the cold and the sun and the heat and the rain and the wind. And yeah, I say that now because I'm not tarping in a negative 20 degree day and the wind chill is whatever and your tarps are blowing all over the place and you're cursing and screaming, saying, man, this is ridiculous. So, but I chose this job at the end of the day. I chose this job. Like I was telling my wife, my stress is self-inflicted. I choose to do this. It's not, I could go back into construction, or I could probably go be an operations manager again. I used to be a suit and tie guy. I'm not at Jason Gilbert's caliber of suit and tie guy, right? But it's, now I just saw 4 flatbeds going east, so I guess I stand corrected. They're coming out of the pass, so I don't know. But anyways, I understand that some of these people have no other choice. Where their dispatcher, their company's like, or even the broker's like, hey, you don't get that there, you're going to have an insurance claim, on whatever's in your reefer. So I understand that. But again, the less vehicles on the road, the less accidents, the less likely you're going to lose, your CDL or your insurance rate. I only pay under $600 a month for a $250,000 cargo insurance and $1 million on my liability. We have Great West Casualty, which we've been with. They're like the Rolls Royce of insurance company, and we've been very safe, knock on wood, that our rates are continually going down. But if you get into a wreck out, even if it's not your fault, right? You claim that, you have an insurance claim or a cargo claim because the person that was passing you got squirrely and took you out. That's just another whole, can of worms, man. I mean, you are literally screwed, because now your rates are going to go up. All this stuff's going to go up for years, and then say for instance, like my truck, even though it's an old truck, but I keep it nice. I think we have it insured for like $45,000. Would they give me it for it? I don't know. But being a brand new, out of frame, rebuild, and the pain and the headache rack, and just everything that we did on the inside, blah 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 blah. Would they give me that money? I don't know. But I also don't want to find out. I just don't want to find out. So you might only get $25,000 or $30,000 for an old truck. Now I'm out. So all that because I chose to drive in the bad weather. So I didn't post those videos to say, hey, look at me, man, look at me, look what I'm doing. I have no fear, or I'm Superman, or I don't let that little weather control what I do. Whatever, man. Truck drivers, you ask them, hey, do you know what time it is? I've been doing this for 35 fucking years. It's like every driver wants to give you, not every driver, but a lot of drivers seem to want to give you their resume for how long they've been doing this or staying in the. Who cares? Who fucking cares how long you've been doing it? I mean, I like to tell people, if you're a cub, don't fuck with a lion, right? And that's pretty much it. But I'm gonna move this truck real quick. I'll back up so you can get this. Okay. All right, guys. Anyways, I gotta cut you short. This plow wants to get some of the snow up on my truck. But anyway, please like and subscribe to the channel. Ciao.